national training institute like Kyankwanzi, it's compulsory. Immediately, maybe after senior 6, every Ugandan should go to Kyankwanzi, and they are trained on the geopolitical interests of Uganda. You don't have to be yellow to be invited to Kyankwanzi. I feel bad about that. I feel cheated.
Honorable Penny, what are your two cents on what is happening in Kyankwanzi right now as the 12th parliament?
It should have been an induction training for all the political parties, for people who are going to represent us in the national parliament for the next 5 years. So for them to put party interests ahead of the national interests, I think that is, I'm crying foul. There should have been an induction training for all the MPs first. Then after that, we would have an induction training for the NRM party. We should put God first, country second, party third. Probably God first, family second, country third, and party fourth. But other than that, still from a political philosophy perspective, what is happening in Kyankwanzi is a clear indicator that President Museveni, one, has a firm grip on power, two, he has a control on all arms of government. The firm grip on power, needless to say, but the control on all arms of government, let's pay a little attention to that. First of all, they have subjected all civilians to putting on military fatigues. And the moment you are putting on those uniforms, there are rules. It is a constant reminder that when you come from Kyankwanzi and you are driving in the traffic jam and you meet another person with that uniform and he has some stones, called rank, maybe 2, lieutenant, 3, captain, you should know that person has a rank. You have to respect that person. For you don't have a rank. We have seen these MPs coming back with those uniforms home because it looks like they're personal goods. Occasionally, they go with it in public rallies to intimidate the voters that they are now special, they are now military. You know, they use it. It has a profound impact on the ordinary people in the village. That I just elected this man from Kashare. Today he's now back with a uniform. He should be very powerful. When my late dad was still alive, he advised me not to join any profession where they put on uniforms. It was very clear on that, and I don't think even if I was going to Kyankwanzi, whether I would put on even nursing.
Even lawyers have where they dress.
No, the thinking of my late father was, why do they want to identify you with uniforms? They should identify you with your character. You see, with uniforms, whether they see you in Tinda, in Akadabia, they say, wait, what? So he really got me off a profession where they put on uniforms. So it's a clear indicator that President Museveni has a firm grip of power. He is in the military, he's in his hands. They have subjected civilians like Mao to military drills, parade, saluting, standing in the pollen. So finally, civilians have found their way into the military. Second grip, we now see the leader of an institution, the leader of parliament of Uganda. One, donned in a yellow shirt. Two, donned in a military fatigue. So it means the independence of parliament at the onset now becomes grotestable. It becomes highly questionable. I remember
this is where it begins.
Yeah, this is where it begins. They have now been recruited. You know, when you're a member of a group pack, you have to be loyal. Otherwise, something is going to happen to you. You have to be loyal. In my time in parliament, 2001, 2006, 2011, 2016, the Speaker of Parliament then, Kadaga, had a lot of difficulties even attending such functions. They would not, because they really tried their best to make the institution look independent. We even provided in the law when this President, Chief Justice, and Speaker of Parliament should meet. Because the principle of separation of power is that the executive is the arm of government that controls the country. The parliament checks the executive. Now, what we are seeing in Kyankwanzi, we are seeing parliament behaving like an annexure of the executive. The principle of separation of the power is becoming what? Blood. And it is in the interest of all Ugandans, my dear Ugandans, that we have to protect the principle of separation of powers. I give two candid examples. The law says before you deploy the UPDF out of Uganda, there is need for parliamentary approval. In the alternative, if it is very urgent, the president can order and then retrospectively come to parliament within 72 hours, I don't remember, to get approval. But gradually we have seen situations where our children, our brothers, have been deployed out of the country without parliamentary approval. This is very dangerous canary. Tomorrow when you are the president, or when I'm the president, or when Sarah Opendi is the president, and you just wake up and say, we want UPDF in Iraq, it becomes dangerous. So this is where every Ugandan must support the principle of separation of power. Because if we want to deploy Uganda People's Defense Forces in Iraq, let Parliament of Uganda debate it. Because President Museveni is not going to be the last president.
Why is it very important to be principled, especially on such matters?
Yes, because the Parliament checks the excesses of the executive. So, to see Parliament behaving like an annex of the executive, the whole country loses. We don't gain much. Of course, Parliament should not be militant to the executive the way it was perceived during Honorable Rebecca's Kadaga's time. Another example, Parliament said, we have poor roads in Uganda. Why should Uganda build 50 kilometers of tarmac road in Congo using our taxpayers' money? Why, when we have bad roads in our country? But the executive stood their ground and we built using our money 50 kilometers in Congo. The process is on. They have completed 30 kilometers. And to that extent, Parliament needs to debate it. But President Museveni was right. I disagreed with him then, but now I am agreeing with him. Because if you see the money coming into Uganda from Congo with that 50 kilometers of roads, that 50 kilometers, in less than 7 years, Uganda will recover that money more than 10 times. So it improves our GDP. But that friction between the executive and Parliament is very healthy. Now, if you think it is not healthy, so why don't we also take the judges to Kyankwanzi? They also put on those military fatigues, the Chief Justice, the judges of Court of Appeal, and they also go and roll in the mud and fumble with the gun. In Parliament, we protested that you should respect people's age. Rest in peace, Bita Mazire. The second name is Namirembe. Professor Latigo, the leader of opposition, said, how do you take an old woman of 87 years to start saying squat down, put on uniform, get up, fumbling with a gun?
Waking up at 6 a.m.
Waking up at 6? Now you have to take Moses Ali to Kyankwanzi. Really? Huh? So there should be respect for age.
The wider conversation, Honorable Otto, it should be, I think, it should be around what members of parliament should be acquainted with, as opposed to who goes where and what.
Yeah, it's true. I agree. I already said that everyone should be invited. But also, you know, you have not been to prison, I guess. Some of us have been in and out of prison. When you get to prison, especially up-county prison, they have a ceremony. I know Commissioner General will comment. They have a ceremony that if you are just from home, they should cane you until the smell of women gets away from your body.
Sorry, what?
They cane you a few strokes. Even in prison, it's just it's easier to say in the local language. They cane you so that the smell of women get away from your body. They presuppose you have been happily married and some of them have been there 10 years. So to normalize you, they have to they have to give you a few whips in some prisons. So for me, if I relate it to what I'm seeing in Kyankwanzi, some of these people who have been elected members of parliament, some of them are carpenters, primary school teachers. Some of them, this could also be the first time in Kampala. Some of them could also be the first time to be in a function where the president is. So Kyankwanzi would orient you how you should behave. You meet other colleagues, table manners. You know, there are basic things which we take for granted. The members should be helped how to behave, how to eat, how to use cutleries, how to use forks, spoons, where to put the napkins. I think these are some of the benefits that can come from Kyankwanzi, because By the time you are sworn in as a member of parliament, you now go to New York, in Paris, you are having a meal with a senator for Tennessee, and you are holding the fork in the right hand, yet that is where the knife should be. You don't know. So one of the biggest gains, especially for those who have a lot of rough edges, there should be a session for manners, table manners, you know, how to behave, because you are now coming
An
to the
honorable
national
member of
scene.
parliament.
Yes, some people don't even know how to use forks. I have seen people fidgeting with the forks in the parliamentary canteen like it is a weapon. They even talk while pointing at you with a knife like this. That, you remember the other motion I raised last week? That is threatening violence. You know, so there should be an aspect of table manners. We should have opposition MPs, NRM MPs all together. You know, these are things we don't take for granted. I also remember dress code. There is a way some MPs dress. You see, like they go to check on their cassava gardens. In the last parliament, there is a woman MP that they forcefully removed her salary and went and bought for her clothes. Decent enough. Because someone is
They went and go
suits and shoes.
forcefully.
Yes, Wopa has a very big task, Uganda Women's Parliamentary Network, because there's a way some people...
Which she has largely been part of.
Yes, there's a way some MPs present themselves. There is one, I don't want to mention the name. They took her salary, they went to Oweno and said, this is the perfume you should use, these are the clothes.
No, again, I thought
No, I mean in one of the shopping malls.
Lou.
Because they were, Oweno buying suits of 130,000, Now, if a whole member of parliament can put on a used clothes, then who in Uganda should put on new clothes?
Honorable Pendi,
So that is part of the orientation, which is very important.
Honorable Otto is raising a very important point that leadership carries a responsibility, and therefore